Winter Clark Erickson with me, and we are talking about helping leaders heal past wounds from their past. Okay? And so we're going to be talking about spiritual coaching, plant medicine, ancestral work, and soul coding. All right. Thank you, Leon, for joining us today. So, Winter here is the publisher of Sublime Feminine Arts, and you're the third generation intuitive, shamanist, tantric witch, and author of Goddess Grows Up. Okay? And what you do, you help healing leaders get unblocked and glow again through ancestral work and soul recoding. And you're based in Bozeman, Montana. Okay. So would you like to tell us about your leadership journey?
My leadership journey, it was a very interesting one. It was one of those things where, you're a leader, but you don't realize it. It kind of finds you. Uh, so it was this process of moving from sort of like within structures, or I like to call it like the machine, moving within the machine, within structures, and then realizing that my genius was actually being outside of the structure. And so it's the kind of thing where coming into a space of leadership, for me, it's very much realizing and acknowledging that even though I'm a leader, I'm still always learning. It's still always a process that's shaping me along the way. And I'm the kind of leader that, yes, I can be in front of a room giving a talk on whatever, but I also love being in a space where we're all sitting equally and I can hold that container for others to shine and share their wisdom as well and feel safe to do so, because most often the ones who are leaders and don't realize it yet are the rebels, the outliers, the visionaries, the ones who are on the fringe and don't feel comfortable being fully seen because they're used to hiding and not being witnessed for all of their wonderfulness, and being able to hold that space for them where they can shine and share in a way that feels comfortable for them, because that eventually enables them to have the strength and the confidence to be like, yeah, I could do this. Like, yeah.
I love that when you talk about that, because, excuse me, I was that person. Okay. Because, I was the one I was the misfit, the one that didn't fit in with anybody. Okay. Because I didn't talk the same, you know, although I looked the same. Um, so I just kept quiet, because that was the best thing. That was the safest thing for me to do at home, at school, anywhere, was just to stay quiet. If I stay quiet, they won't see me here, and then they don't feel I'm a threat. And then I can be, safe all the way around, physically safe. Okay. Because from where I came from, Detroit, the most important thing is to be physically safe. Once you're physically safe, then you can do other things. Okay. That's when we're talking about Maslow hierarchy of needs. You have to take care of your basic needs first. If your basic needs aren't taken care of, you can't achieve any other further goal. Am I correct?
That's right.
Absolutely. So, with all of these things being said, spirituality is very, very high on my list. I am not a religious person, but definitely spiritual, deeply spiritual, because one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the spiritual coaching, because people don't understand how much of it covers in our life in general. Okay. When you talk about your health, okay, and you're talking about your mental well being in that hierarchy, you have to also take consideration your spiritual well being because it interconnects us to the universe. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely. And as you were talking about it, I was seeing the interconnectedness between the the roles that we find ourselves in every day and how we're often dealing with the density of the 3D of it and not connecting to the higher um energies at play, the different patterns or routines that we may be in that it's time to break out of and like break the habit or break the pattern to move into the next level of things energetically, which would then affect the denser 3D stuff. But it's the kind of thing where there's often parallels between what we're doing for our work. Like I once I looked behind me and saw the parallels at play, I was like, I couldn't unsee it. I have 3 degrees.
Okay.
I have 3 degrees. I have a degree in English writing. I have a degree in massage therapy, and healing studies, and I have a master's degree in education and teaching English as a second language. And when I look back, I'm like, the writing degree was for the book.
Okay.
The massage therapy was about energy healing and understanding like the different like ways that people process their wounds and their emotions and all of that. And the teaching degree was understanding how to structure all of my expertise and knowledge in a way that can be accessible to those who may just be at the beginning of their path. Is I was like, "Oh, and it's one of those things where I suddenly saw the spiritual curriculum that I went through. It wasn't just like the regular one. There was a spiritual one going on too, because at the end of it all, when I came onto this path and I was hearing spirit saying, like, you're not teaching ESL anymore. Like, that's not what you're here to do. Like, see, this is the spiritual curriculum that you've been going through. Like, yeah, you have all these degrees and all these tools, but you use them in these other ways. And it's much more like, yes, those things have impact, but this can really transform and like change lives and help people. So in like ways that they couldn't even like imagine. So it's really important to look at the spiritual and energetic dynamics of your journey, especially if you're like feeling stuck and you're like, I'm in this thing. You got to look at like the whole picture of it, because there's likely a piece that you're missing, that you just have a blind spot to, where it's like, oh, this is why. Yeah, and it all comes together.
Yes, and it's so fascinating when it does. It's just like a whole new world opens up to you. It's like Alice in Wonderland, right? So, talk to me about your role as a coach for someone like me. Because you said healing leaders get unblocked. Tell me what that means. I asked you two questions. Okay.
No, because you leaders, I meet leaders at all different points on their path. So like I've met like leaders who are like in the executive corporate world, right? And they're like, I'm not happy. And it's like, yeah, because you're supposed to be focusing on your passion and whatever, whatever. And I've also met leaders who don't realize that's what they're supposed to be doing, and they're afraid to own their power and like step into that light because of the whole like being seen and all of that. And so what often stands in the way between any leader, no matter where they're at on their journey, is different wounds and imprints that they're carrying with them. And it could be something as far back from childhood to something as current, where they've been operating in one extreme of polarity for so long they don't know anything else. Like they what like what is feminine? I don't even know that. Slow down. What, how do I do this? Like, so it's just a matter of seeing where a leader is at, seeing where the imbalances are, and finding the thread of the the imprint or the wound that's creating that cycle that's keeping them like in that loop kind of thing. Because when you get to a certain point of stress and you're like, I'm trying all the things and nothing's working, that's because you have your toolbox, right? But when you get to that point, you don't realize you've outgrown it and you need some new tools.
Okay, let's face it.
Yeah.
We're evolving all the time. And also, as you talk about it, each and every one of us is an empowered leader, whether you see it or not, right?
Right.
Including yourself. So let's talk about some of the benefits of spiritual coaching as we talked about it. Some of these things could include personalized support and accountability. Okay, self-awareness and inner peace. Okay, purpose and overcoming blocks, navigating transitions, which is what I'm going through currently, holistic well-being, which we all want. Okay, all right, or should. Okay, you have anything else to add on that?
Mindset shifts. Mindset shifts. Because the between the ego and the subconscious is kind of like this game board where they're both operating, and like our heart is like stuck in the middle of it, and one of those pieces, like the ego, we're very familiar with, right? It keeps us safe, it keeps us familiar, it keeps us on track in our routines and all of that, but it's afraid to let us grow. It's afraid to let us near the edge where something may change and shift in a way where, oh, it's different now and this feels unsafe, right? So on that side of things, and then with the subconscious, which is where we throw everything into the closet, we don't want to deal with. It's like, nope, not today. So that closet gets full. That closet gets full, and it starts affecting our behaviors and our decisions without us realizing it. And we keep finding ourselves in the pattern of uh, choosing a path that feels really safe, but we know like deep down it's not going to get us anywhere. Choosing the the person that we know is not really great, but it's familiar, or choosing how we nourish our bodies, even though like it gives us agita or something. Like, so the subconscious also plays out in the way of like, well, this feels good to me because this is what I experienced in childhood. It brought me comfort in a time that felt very unstable and unpredictable. And, it was like my little emotional anchor. So when we have these mindset shifts, it's about getting into those nooks and crannies where we can start bringing it from back here to up here. Because once it's up here, you can't unsee that. You can't unsee it. And yet sometimes, at least half the time, that's all you need. All you need is to see it. It needs to come from the back to the front and see it.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
half the time, it's like, okay, that's all I needed. The other half the time, you can see it and you're like, yeah, I know it's there. But, but the but comes up. I'm afraid. What if? I don't know. Change is scary, all of that, right? And then the ego kicks in to like play supporting cast. But the mindset shifts are really huge. And I I like to take the approach of taking people on a journey, on a shamanic journey with it, because it bypasses the ego. It turns it off. And we go straight into the subconscious, and we go straight to the higher self, and we have conversations and meetings and like interact energetically, and that's where the recode thing comes in, because it's like, oh, okay, all this stuff was like pushed off to the side. Let's just go to that version of ourselves, to that template of ourselves, and get what we need from them, and then come back here, and already you're changed because you have that experience of connecting with that version of who you are. If that makes sense. That was a lot.
It does it makes perfect sense, and that's what I love about the replay. If I don't remember now, I can replay it later, and this is evergreen material that'll be there when you and I are dead and gone. Okay, it lives on, and that's what I love about it. Okay, so let's talk about some of the myths and perceptions about spiritual coaching. Okay, it's religious counseling. The reality is it transcends religion and is open to all. Okay. And they say, okay, it's vague or it's unstructured. Okay, the reality is these are practical tools such as journaling, meditation, and planning. Okay. Also, it's just energy healing. Okay. The reality is this is structured around self awareness and alignment. You have anything else to add on that?
Absolutely. When you're trying to do this stuff on your own, it can feel incredibly overwhelming because it's like, where do I even begin? Where do I begin? And then let's say you start to begin, and then, you're going through all this emotional, like heavy lifting. You're like, I don't want to do it anymore. And like put it down because it feels like too much. And this is why it's hugely helpful to have a guide who can like pace it for you so that you're not trying to do it all in like big chunks. And also when you get to those points where you're like, I'm just, it's so much. Like I just can't. Okay. Then let's move into a different area where you're doing some regenerative stuff and you're feeling better and you're more nourished and you're getting stronger. Because I feel one of the things that can be, and I know this because I've been there, um, I love me some self-help books. I've had libraries of them. I know. Um, I love learning about how things work and fit together and like shift and transform and all that. And I can go so far into the rabbit hole of like self-help that it can get to a point where you're learning and learning and learning, but then you're not applying because once it gets to the application part, you're like, well, I read it, so I know it. So like I'm good now, right? Yeah.
Been there, done that. I
Yeah.
get it. And the best way is to apply it, and then it internalizes itself. Then you'll say, oh, now I got it. Okay. Okay. Cause I'm a visual learner, but I also have to also do it in order for it to stick. And you have to do it more than one or two times. Okay. It's repeat, repeat, repeat. That's how you improve. Okay.
Mhm.
Trial and error. Okay. So the importance of spirituality in life, as we talked about, is meaning and purpose, resilience in adversity. Okay. Mental and physical health, relationships and community, leadership and growth. So without spirituality in your life, what can you have? Really? Right?
I feel like as a leader, if there isn't an element of some form, and okay, fine, spirituality, maybe that feels too woo for some people, fine. There's got to be some form of purpose. Like what are you here for? Like what's your mission? What's fueling your motivation and your desire kind of thing, because that's the spark of the divine in you wanting to move through you and wanting to do the things through you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Ways in which cultures practice spirituality, you have indigenous traditions such as sweat lodges and smudging, drumming, and um, drum time stories. Okay. You have the Eastern traditions with the Hindu and the Buddhist, the Taoist. And then you have the Abrahamic traditions with the Jewish Sabbath, Christian sacraments, and the Islamic five pillars. Okay, we have the African spirituality, and also the Latin American with the Day of the Dead, and the Catholic indigenous blends, as well as the modern and global. When you think about mindfulness, Reiki, and astrology, and all of these other things come into play, right? So you have anything else to add on those traditions?
Circling back, because it includes those things. The ancestral work, the ancestral work, because in all of our lineages, we have both healed ancestors and we have wounded ancestors. And all the ancestors are always trying to help us from the
Okay,
other
thank you for
side.
your help. Okay, some
Always
help you
trying
don't
to help.
want.
Because,
Like,
family, they're trying to get their noses up in there, right? So you have the wounded ones and you have the healed ones. And so when you're working with ancestors, especially um, from this lens of leadership, don't be afraid to step up and take charge of that lineage, because when we're doing this ancestral work, and the ancestral work, why it even connects to the leadership is because we carry wounds with us, not only from the immediate ones who imprinted on us, but in our genes and our genetic codes from those who came before us, who experienced whatever disappointments and tragedies and resentments, things didn't work out, um they failed, whatever it was, that gets passed to us in our DNA. And so when we're moving into positions of wanting more for ourselves or wanting to do more in the world or more in a community, and like we find ourselves blocked energetically in a way that doesn't quite make sense, like I was just trucking along a second ago and all of a sudden, like,
what happened? Like,
I
what
feel real
happened?
stuck. I feel real stuck. That's because an ancestral energy is trying to be like, wait, don't do it, because they're trying to protect you from failing, from getting hurt, from experience whatever disappointment they experienced when they tried to do something similar in whatever form they were doing it in. So we can work with the ancestors in a very mindful way by calling forth the ones who are healed and helpful.
How we gonna
Healed
know
and
that?
helpful only to the front.
How we gonna know? How we gonna know which one is
You don't
which?
have to know. You don't have to know because they know. They know. On the other side, they know. When we set the intention of healed and helpful to the front, they move. They can move mountains. We don't need to deal with the wounded ones because the wounded ones will come up and will try to stop us from doing something that might meet where we're going to our growth edge, because they can feel that fear, because they know that fear, because they've experienced that fear. But what they don't realize is if they just let us do the thing, that's going to heal the wound through us 7 generations back. They're going to get the
How you get
healing.
seven? How you get seven?
It's a cyclical thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cyclical thing. But it can go back even further. It depends on the ancestor and what the wound is. But what they don't understand, because they're in spirit form, they're still viewing and experiencing through that wound. And it's like when you're about to do that thing, it like flips a switch in that like genetic code that boop, 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 goes all the way back to the ancestor who's like, wait, I tried to do that. Don't do it. And
They're
that's
stuck. They're stuck.
exactly, because they don't know what it would have been like to have done it and maybe have succeeded or whatever. And that was
That
that
makes
was the first
sense.
time I started working with my ancestors when I launched my coaching program some years ago. My grandfather stepped forward And I I didn't know him well. Like, I knew him as a little kid briefly, and then he passed, but I could his energy, like, I just knew, and his energy came forth, and I'm like, "What's up? Like, what's going on?" I went into meditation so that I could get more clearly, like, a read on, like, what was going on with his energy, and I was like, "Why? Why are you here? Like, I'm about to do something really important, like, what's going on?" And I felt the story of, like, the failed salesman business and da da da, and I was like, "Oh, you're trying to protect me from rejection. Okay, got it. I'm so sorry that you experienced that. I really am. And I know how deeply that affected you and the family too. And know that I empathize and I love you and I appreciate you for trying to help me, but I got to do this. I got to see because I won't know if I don't try. And this way, I'll know if it's, maybe there's something else I need to do, but I need to try it first and see what happens with it. And if I win, then we both win, which is great." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." He faded back into the mist, into the realms. And I launched the thing and it was great. And so that healing happened. That healing happened for him. So it's the kind of thing where when you're about to go into let's say if you're about to go into uncharted territory and you're feeling kind of wobbly about it, um you can call on your healed and helpful ancestors to help out behind the scenes, absolutely, because we all have legions with us and they're just waiting to be called upon, but you have to actually like state the intention for it. um because free will, we're alive, so we have free will. Our angels, our guides, um, our helpful healing ancestors, all in spirit form. Yes, they can intervene, emergency, situations, pull you out of the way of a speeding, miracles, right? Nope, not a problem. Miracles, not a problem. But for the mundane, they're just watching and we're like, she gonna ask for help or what? Like, we're just watching her struggle. We're like, we could so clearly help her. And
Beetlejuice. It reminded me of Beetlejuice. Okay. I love that movie. Okay.
yeah,
So, so just to share with you a situation that I'm going through. Okay. To give you an example, to give people an example. Okay. My mother, she had schizophrenia. Okay. And I've never know when my birthday is, whether it was
mhm,
morning, whenever. Just know the day. Okay. I want to know, is it possible to have a conversation with her to know, okay, when was I born? In the morning or night? Why did you decide to have this relationship with my father? Okay. Knowing he was married. How did you guys meet? Why did you so fearful? She had to be fearful if she didn't want people to know she had a daughter, and that daughter was me. Were you fearful? Were you ashamed? I just want to know answers to my questions so I can give some clarity, some closure, so I can move forth as the leader that I want to become. Okay, does this make sense? That I would want that?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, there's a couple ways that you can go about this. And for those of you trying it at home, um, if you have a real good solid meditation practice, you can go into a meditative state and ask to connect with the higher self of your mother and ask to have a conversation with her higher self, because her higher self does not have schizophrenia.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one way you could do it through in a meditative state. asked to connect with your mother's higher self and asked to have a conversation with that form of her energy. Um, Another approach is, if I were in session with you, I would bring you into the liminal space through the shamanic journeying and have you meet with her energy and be able to like sit down and have a conversation with her in her lucid state. So there's always a pathway. It's just a matter of like which way you choose to go with it. But there's always an energetic access point where you can get
It's
that
just good.
information from.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The reason I'm asking that because other people may have this question as well. Because ancestral work practices consist of rituals, genealogic, genealogical healing, ancestral
Mhm.
constellations, storytelling, and the benefits is it heals generational trauma, strengthens belonging, restores lineage connection. So it would make sense to me that getting these answers to my questions would make me whole, help in my healing process. And I would definitely seek the latter for that. And we can discuss that offline. So now, as we talked about, the ancestral work is used for healing trauma, ritual connection, l- leadership identity. Anything else you want to add on that?
Just that collectively on Earth, we're going through a shift energetically, and more people that you would never think, would never guess, might be open, to the possibilities of like um anything existing outside of this. Um a lot of people are getting woken up, and it's because collectively on this planet we're moving into a different density. We're moving into a different paradigm, a different way of doing things. And I don't know, whoever might be watching this, if you have begun to notice that the way, if you try to like accomplish something now, if you try to use the same methods or the same ways that you used maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where it used to work like a charm, like each time, and you try and do it now and you're like, it's not working. something's broken something's broken. It's because it's we're entering a different energetic threshold space entirely, and the kind of tools that we used to use years ago were very much of the mind, right? It was very much like a strategic, okay, like if you have a if you have a business, or if you want to lead this, you just got to do like, X, Y, and Z. And it was all very formulaic and part of, a whole like system and structure and like traditional like pillars of things. And when you try and do those things now, it's not hitting the same. Like something's not quite right. And it's because now we need tools of the heart. That's our new GPS. And we're so not used to navigating from this space. But it's the new GPS now. We have to have tools that come from the heart and not from the head, because that's the new frequency that's coming in. Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk more about that?
Um so the world is in a state.
Okay,
Right now.
yeah, yeah,
The world
right.
is in a state right now. Um and speaking on it from the perspective of a spiritual coach, Um, there's like two ways you can view how the state of affairs are right now. You can either get pulled under by all the things that are being shown to distract and create fear and all of that, or you can take a step back and be like, what would be most helpful and like most useful right now? Like what would be most supporting, most nourishing right now? Because I want to feed that. I want to feed love. I want to feed community. I want to feed strength. I want to feed support. I want to feed hope. I want to feed that. I don't want to buy into this because that's been going on for a while. And that's the old paradigm. That's the old shiz. We're moving away from that. We're moving towards things can be so much better if we could all get on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Now, one of the topics that I wanted to just brush over is the plant medicine.
Yeah.
Okay, plant medicine is the use of plants, herbs, and fungi, mushrooms for physical healing, spiritual growth, and altered states of consciousness. Okay, these origins from indigenous roots, which you're definitely familiar with. Okay, and evidence from 60,000 years ago. Okay, these are things that were used in the Amazon and South America, North America, okay, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. You want to talk to us about that? Because I know you are into plant medicine.
Absolutely. It's been a huge part of my journey, both just as an individual and as a leader. I've worked with plant medicine in the realms of women's wellness and immunity like forever. And I started moving more. It was never my intention to go into the psychedelics because being an intuitive, being psychic, I'm like, I don't need it. But out of respect for the plants, I'm like, okay, if there is one that wants to work with me, I will honor that call because plants are sentient beings. Like they were here before us. So if it's my turn and they want to conversate, like I'll do that. And that's what happened with ayahuasca 2 years ago. Um, she came for me and I answered the call and it was one of the most incredible experiences. And from there, um, psilocybin got my number and I was like, okay. So learning all these different plant medicines. And then after that, it was Blue Lotus, Egyptian Blue Lotus, and understanding her medicine and how she helps us. But the way and cacao has been a constant companion for the past 3 or 4 years. Um, she's such a beautiful heart opener and heart healer. And the way that I work with the medicines for myself is very much in the same way that I help others work with them. So, like today, I went and got lemon balm, um, Melissa Officinalis, just because dealing with a lot of stress, she helps to calm down and basically tells your nervous system like you're not under attack. Like everything's okay, like all your needs are being met. Like it's your ego that's like having fun and like the in the rage room right now. But with these plants, if I'm feeling some kind of way, I'll check in and be like, is this something that I need to somatically process? Do I need to move my body, or do I need a plant ally right now to like have a conversation with? So I'll do it that way. I love flower essences for years. They're so subtle. No contraindications for anything. And they work in the background. They work with the subconscious. So I've brought um clients through all sorts of different mental, emotional, and energetic blocks with different flower essences because they'll be telling me about something. It's a pattern. I'm like, okay. And like a few flowers will jump out at me and I'll go look them up and then I'll be like, here are the ones that are asking for you. You choose which one you're like, heck yeah, that's the one. that I need. And then you take it for a couple of weeks and you start to feel the shifts within the first few days. And it's like getting a new set of eyes to look at things with. So um, these plants are really beautiful, and I feel like you don't necessarily have to have like a massive dose of ayahuasca to like fix all the things. Um, all these plants are very powerful in their own ways, that even like small amounts with the intentionality behind it can be really helpful. And because of this, I've started putting together online plant medicine retreats where I send you like the medicine bundle, and very safe, small amounts, and just bringing you through a process where you get to experience each plant. And it's an intentional journey where you go in and you're like, okay, I'm ready for like to let a whole bunch of stuff go. I'm ready to shed the layers, and like I'm ready for the rebirth. Like, let's just do this. And then you move through each portal. And by the time you get to the end, you're like, okay, I get it. This is like the new version now. Much love to the old version. She was great. I could see how much pain and suffering she was going through, and I could see how now like that's not needed anymore, because yeah, just new choices, new way of seeing things, stuff like that. Um, and I do think that in the plant medicine community, you have to be mindful. Like, you have to do your research of who is facilitating and who is holding these spaces for you, because it's gotten super trendy. And you want to go with someone who has spent a lot of time with the plants themselves, and they're not just doing it for the money and to like, be on the bandwagon. Um, and who's also going to do integration with you afterwards. Because even with just the little journey and the small amounts and stuff, it's going to start a whole like domino effect where, yeah, you're going to be like, oh, this is coming up now. Hey, can we talk about this? Because this is interesting. And I don't know who else to talk about it, because, you know, they're not familiar with the medicines. Like, which one might have opened this door? Was it like lotus or was it cacao? So having integration sessions afterwards for the ongoing unfolding that's going to continue as well. But these types of allies, these types of support can really help us, where as humans we kind of like hit a wall sometimes with the reading and the meditating and like, the energies and stuff. And like the plants can really help us get to that newer level
Mm.
of understanding of things, which is really beautiful.
Now, before I forget, you mentioned that to know the difference between if you can do the movement or whether you do the plants. So, how do you know to differentiate between the two?
For me, I first off, it starts with the discomfort. Like emotions, I'm in my head too much. Like, I'm feeling a lot of discomfort. I want relief. How do I find relief? And the first impulse is like finding, how can I find relief outside of myself, right? But then there's a power referral, right? And so if you want the relief outside of yourself, as opposed to just like being with the discomfort, I mean, like, well, what's under that? What's really going on? Okay, I feel like crying. Let's just let the tears out. Like, let the energies move through. And okay, done with the crying. Do I feel like talking about it or writing about it? No. Do I feel like turning on some music and just expressing myself in weird ways? Yeah, actually that feels really good. Um and so if I'm feeling like I want to cry, um and I want to move, that's usually an indicator that's it's going to be a more somatic experiencing thing, which is not super comfortable, but it needs to happen. If I'm feeling like I'm very like spinny, like up in my head because I'm anxious or feeling fearful or something like that, um, then I might want to work with a plant to help me kind of cut through the noise of that a little bit. Um, and so like I'll pick a flower essence to like have on my account and be like, okay, let's sit with this and let the flower essence dial up um like this area so that I can hear it better and like cut through the noise of like whatever fear, whatever. Okay, great. I'm tuned in. Okay, now I can ask some questions that make sense and like process that way. So then I'll turn more into like speaking through things is really helpful, especially if you have a defined throat in human design, like speak processing, or even speaking into like your voice notes, like, right? It's like having a person there. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful to know. I just wanted to summarize that the purpose of plant medicine is healing the body, healing the spirit, community bonding, and consciousness expansion. Okay. And the statistics on the plant medicine, the World Health Organization estimates that 80% of the world's population relies on plant-based medicine for primary health care.
Hmm.
Many modern pharmaceuticals are derived from plants, such as aspirin, from willow bark, morphine from opium poppy, quinine from chinoa bark. And there's a growing scientific study of psychedelic plant medicines for treating PTSD, depression, and addiction.
Hmm.
Okay, so I would like to move on to. I wanted to ask you about the Akashic records, and which are accessing our soul records. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So the Akashic records hold all of our life experiences to date. So this means all the different lifetimes, timelines that we've been through, all up to this moment ongoing, because this particular timeline that we happen to be in, the record is still being written, right? So this field of information, this cloud of information, is located roughly like about a foot away and around our heads. So um we're all like humans walking around with like spiritual like iClouds of information that can be accessed. Yeah.
Okay, and that's something that you do.
It is. And it can be really helpful for understanding uh different things that you may be experiencing in current time that could be connected back to a previous timeline, but we created the structure of time. Time all time is now, right? So even though it was a past life, it's still ongoing in another dimension, in like quantum reasoning, right? It's still happening. Um our consciousness is just now here in this timeline. So if there's something that we're experiencing where we have a phobia of something, and we've been trying all the things, nothing's working, it could be really helpful to go into the Akasha and ask, can you please pull the timeline or the lifetime where I experienced a similar phobia? And so that can get to the root of where it first started. And for example, being psychic, I was working with different mentors at different points in time. And I had one mentor who was very excited about my abilities, where he's like, you know, you're really good at channeling. Because at one point I channeled the deity Isis. He's like, you're really good at channeling. He's like, if you wanted, you could become possessed, like if you wanted to. Like you could do possession. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. He's like, why not? It's actually really fascinating. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, I will always maintain full control of my vessel. I'm not letting anything else get in here. There's only room for one. Um, and when I was getting trained in the Akasha, we were doing different exercises, and one of the exercises was um, to go back to a lifetime where you experienced like one of your greatest fears. And so I went back to this timeline where I found myself in a room, completely empty room, empty. And I was like, what the? And then something on the ceiling got my attention. And it was a woman clinging to the ceiling. And I realized when I saw her, I realized it was me. Like I was like, nope, I'm out. I
Too much.
I came out of the Akasha, and I was like, now I know why I would never allow that, because it's happened to me before. And I can only imagine like how terrifying that must be to not have control over your own vessel. Yeah. So there's ways that you can top the Akasha for different forms of healing and like resolving of things too. Yeah, for sure. I've also done some work in there that I haven't read of. So maybe I should document it. But I've done work in the Akasha where I have altered a soul contract between me and a partner in the past when I was in a relationship that was very toxic. Uh, and I knew I had to get out, but I was scared to break up with the person. So I did some work in the Akasha. Like I was shown how to do it. And so I did the thing. And I came out of it. I was like, see what happens. And within a week,
Good
they
for
split
you.
up. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm out.
That's why I brought up the Akasha records. Okay. That's very important. Okay. So I know we spend a lot of time on different things, but I would like to touch on the soul coding. Okay. Which is an energetic blueprint or spiritual DNA shaping our gifts, lessons, and purpose. This is very important to talk about.
So the the soul recoding is this process where you're brought into a space to meet with a template that is you, but it's the more forward version of you. So it's kind of like getting a new operating system, right? We're computers. We're electrical beings. So we're all walking around with operating systems, and from time to time it's really helpful to like delete the old one and download like a new one, right? Especially when you're like, things are stagnant, like I'm trying to get to a certain like point in my life, and I just can't quite reach it. That's because you don't have the correct codes for it. You have to let those go and like allow yourself to receive the new one. So it's kind of like this two-part process where you release old codes and you allow yourself to receive the new ones, but then the other part of the process is making contact with that version of yourself who's already there doing the thing. And once you do that and you meld energies, you combine into one, and you come out of that liminal space where this this new sequence has been activated now. And you're like, okay, because you've met with that version of yourself. They're like, you ask them questions like, how did you do this? And like, how, like, tell me the process, right? maybe they look different than you. They're wearing different things. Like, so, and then you absorb them. You absorb them so you can receive those codes from them. And you come out of it and it's like, okay, it's time to update the avatar. What were they wearing? Like, let me get a piece or two of that. And like, so you eventually start shifting from this timeline over into that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does. It
I
does.
know it's very like,
It is very, very deep because
yeah,
it's kind of mystical, energetic, psychological.
yeah,
You're talking about systems, okay?
yeah,
And I am a visual person, so
yeah,
I can kind of figure it out. And what this helps with is purpose discovery, spiritual transformation, and life alignment. That's why it's so important. So when you combine the ancestral work, okay, which is healing the roots, okay, we need that. If you don't heal the roots, then the other part is still infected. You can't fully operate, okay? And then the soul coding is about the present, the future direction, the unique soul purpose, okay? And together helps you to understand where you come from and why we are here, right?
exactly.
Anything else you want to add on that?
I I think that's a great place to tie it up with a bow. The whole the whole Back to the Future process
I,
I
I did
described.
want to ask you one last question though.
Yeah.
What's the correlation between all of this, between the gene keys, human design, and astrology?
For me, um, I see the cosmology as astrology is the outermost layer that we're most familiar with our signs and all of that. The next inner layer is human design. It's how we're wired to navigate life, how we best use our energy, what energizes us, what drains us, and how we can make decisions with more ease and understanding starting to understand our purpose, like why we're here and like why we keep finding ourselves in like the same situations again and again, and like are able to see those situations and like create a mastery out of them. And then the innermost layer are the gene keys, where it's the soul blueprint. And with that soul blueprint, it's more of a space of going into that realm and exploring each of the keys, each of your spheres, to gain a deeper understanding of how you can have more ease and like where you've been working against yourself. When I started working with that innermost layer, I started to understand why the old conditioning that I was taught of you have to work hard and hustle and grind and all these things and like show up even when you don't want to, like all these things um just didn't work for me, because my life's work is presence. I'm just supposed to be here holding space. Like my presence is enough to help others feel safe and empowered so that they can do what they need to do. And my purpose is surrender. I'm not supposed to try and control anything. I'm just here of divine will. And
Love it.
the more I let divine take care of it, the more it's like, oh, I'm just making stuff twice as much work for me. Yeah.
This has been an excellent conversation today, Winter. I want to thank you so much for your time. You have any final thoughts you would like to share?
Thank you so much for having me here. It was super fun talking about all of these things with you, and I hope that some pearls, some nuggets were dropped along the way for whoever is here, came through, and for those who may follow. And just some parting thoughts. Whatever you are hesitating on, whatever you're holding yourself back from doing, whatever you're avoiding, just do it. just just do the thing, because all we have is right now. And whatever fear or hesitation is tripping you up, like, you just gotta you gotta hand it over. And if you know that your heart is completely in it, you just gotta go for it. And don't worry about what it's gonna look like or what people are gonna think about it, or what if it doesn't work out. Don't worry about any of that, because you have to honor yourself in your process and do the thing. And it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be messy. And that's okay, because we're messy beings.
But it's going to be fun.
It's gonna
Okay.
be fun.
Um, and congratulations on the opening of your Etsy store. And I'll make sure to include all your links when I post the video. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Bye everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye, everybody.